But when I was working with my mentor, we were doing this process that we do, and I had to tell her my whole life story, and I had to go into everything. And she told me, "You are not to blame for your abuse. You are not to be blamed for, your parents leaving or not believing you or any of those things.
Right.
But every time you step into that club, you're perpetuating the abuse that happened to you by cutting on your soul." And I said, "I thought you weren't going to make me quit." She says, "I'm not, but I'm not going to lie to you about the truth of what it is." And that's, and I could see the truth. That's why I'd leave crying, but I just didn't know how to I wanted the money and it was so scary to come back into this other realm. I remember buying secondhand clothes that were beautiful. I mean, like beautiful secondhand clothes, and wearing them to one of the support groups and crying because I felt like I was not worthy enough to wear those kind of clothes. And I just sat and I would talk about, and I would share that with the group and they were like, when we're vulnerable like that, when we're honest, you're open up for the people that can love you. And there are jerks, and you can, my mentor would say, give them my number if they say something and they can talk to me about it. And I do that for my girls today. But anyway, so this process is going. I'm singing, I'm doing these things, but I'm so scared to succeed because I'm afraid of my past coming up. These things I'm talking to you all about today, I couldn't even discuss till I was 12 years sober in a public setting. And that just popped out of my mouth one day, speaking at this huge group that I went to, that I was invited to, And I'm going along, like I said, and I'm still having this hard time in relationships. And I'm having my nightmares. And my mentor told me at 6 years, if you don't get help if you don't go get outside help for this, I'm not going to help you anymore. I can't. This is too big for me. She got in touch with this foundation. I had to old-timey fax in my whole life story, which was so vulnerable. And they paid for half of my trauma treatment in Arizona. And my brother got my dad to come. He wasn't going to come. And everybody came. And my father had to hear everything that happened to me. And today my father believes me. And I can tell you that after that, it still was hard for about a year and a half. I had found out the guy I was dating had affairs all over Dallas. I was devastated. I told him, break up with me if you're not into, but I was choosing these, again, these places of not understanding what red flags were and painting them green and that desperate for that crumb of love and all these things. And I still struggled for a while, a year and a half after that. And then I really started digging deeper into my music, even heavier, going to Nashville, going to Los Angeles. And I met a guy with Warrior guitars there. And he said, "Hilary, quit driving the car, looking in the rearview mirror constantly. You're going to wreck the car." He's like, "You were made." He said, "Step into the destiny that God made for you. You're getting in your own way and believing it." He said, "What you have done is not so awful that it cannot be forgiven. But you can't forgive yourself." And that was the thing. Like, I couldn't understand a God that could forgive me. I didn't understand. My mentor said to me, "What kind of God do you want, Hilary?" And I said, okay, I'll tell you what it is. I don't want all this other stuff that's been planted at me or thrown at me. I don't want all this other stuff to do it religiously right or do all these things. What do I want in a personal relationship? I'll tell you what I want. I want to feel that God close in my heart. I want to know what it's like to look in the mirror and be able to stand the sight that I see looking back at me without having to look away, trying to put mascara on because I can't stand the creature looking back at me. I want to know what it's like to take a shower and feel clean instead of trying to take 20 and I can never feel clean enough. I want to know what it's like to laugh from my gut. I want to know what it's like to hear the birds and see the butterflies. And I want to have my innocence restored. And I want to know what the secret is to life like you guys have. What is gratitude? How do you accept these things? And I'm walking these things out, and I had that educational variety of faith. I'm just monkey see, monkey do, right? And as I'm moving forward, I'm singing at now Bishop Jake's church, and and all these things are happening, and I'm singing at these events, and then I'm starting to get sick. And these beautiful, beautiful women and men at Bishop Jake's church are praying over me and loving on me. And I get this diagnosis for my heart that I was misdiagnosed for a long time. And I had a congenital heart defect I didn't know about, and it was going to be a 50% chance of survival. So I was able to do fertility, 3 rounds of fertility, because I wanted kids. So I also want to say, part of my story is abortions. When you're out there acting out in the ways that I was acting out, bad things would happen. And I had different abortions, and it also happened into my sobriety. I'll say sobriety. And I got to tell you, over every trauma, abuse, there's nothing that has caused me more agony and heartache than that. And it took me a long time to really get to I would probably say I'm 80 to 85% healed in that, I would say. But it really caused a lot of pain. And when we're out there doing the things we do and subjecting our psyche, our bodies, our whole being, our souls to these kind of behaviors, it's so just awful. And I just really believed, Jason, that I would never have a freedom. And at 7 to 8 years, as I'd made my financial amends slowly but surely, as I'd made amends to my father and kept my mouth shut, made amends to my brother, to my mother, putting everything that had happened to me on the back burner and taking responsibility for my actions alone, not taking responsibility for the things that I didn't own, which a lot of abused people do. My life, I started getting some freedoms. So I'm singing at Bishop Jake's church, and I'm starting to get sick, and I have to face this surgery. I do these rounds of fertility, got eggs frozen, and I go into the hospital, and I'm starting to have a good time in life, but it took a while. And it doesn't happen for everybody this way. I'm a slow case. What can I say? But I had people pray for me, and they said, you're going to have an experience where you're going to have such a close relationship with God. And I never understood it. Like I just did it. And I thought I could see the miracles. I could see the gratitude. I could see my mentor had me write out all the things I had done, because I'm going into heart surgery. And I'm like, I don't have a college education. Is this my legacy? What is what is this? I haven't done anything. Write out every good thing that you've done to help God's kids. And I did that before the surgery. And then I went in to the surgery, and I remember I just told God, I said, look, if you see fit, I am finally having a good time here. You can take me out right now, but if you see fit, I promise you, if you save me, I will spend the rest of my life helping your kids. I promise you. A day and a half later, they took me off the heavy narcotics because I couldn't handle them, making me sick. I was on a non-narcotic pain medicine, and then eventually just Advil and Tylenol. But 3 days in, I had a burning bush experience like never before, and I not since. And then I knew for me, my God was real. Like I knew it. And I was praying over this woman in the hospital, which I would never do. I would be way too embarrassed or weirded out to do that. I was praying over her, who was diagnosed with spinal cancer, and I can tell you, then I lost my voice again. And but I took some different actions. They talk about a higher power. My lower power would say to me, you're dumb. You only have a GED. You went this far in school. I went back to college. I got a tutor. I found out if you get good rest, you study, you can get A's and A pluses. And as I'm waiting for my voice to come back, if it's going to come back, they didn't know. I was just crying because I was grateful to be alive. And finally, it did come back. I did the prayers that were taught to me years ago. My voice started coming back. I started singing at the recovery events. And then eventually, we'll get into this because we know our next guests are going to be some very dear friends of mine, but Annie and Kevin Blake. I met Annie and Kevin in 2010, and I was singing at an event that we had for recovery, and she's like, you've got to do that. You've got to do that. And they know a very famous man by the name of Eric C., who had an event every year, and they invited me out. I got to meet him. And then later on, I was invited to sing and with some other amazing people. Eric was taking a break that year, but it was his event. And they're like, you've got to do this. And I'm like, oh, I'm too old. I'm too this. And they just kept encouraging me. And at 20 years, they come out for a party for me. And I find out right after that, I'm going to get to meet this amazing producer, Damon Sharp, but over in Los Angeles. And he and I start talking, and we start working on these great songs. And he's believing in my gift. He knows my story. I'm now, at 12 years, I started sharing my story, and I got more and more courage with that. And after I had my heart surgery, I just made a decision that I don't really care who knows my story. I used to lie about my age because I thought I needed to be young and younger. I was never okay. It was never enough, Jason. What happened was as my career starting to take off, Annie gets sick with a very rare form of muscular dystrophy. And you all hear more about that. But in 2019, I had a top 10 hit. And then when I turned 50, I had a number 1.
Yeah.
And but you were around for the number 1 thing.
Yeah.
The way the whole thing went with launching Red Songbird officially was for 10 years prior to that, I was sending people to treatment. I was getting them therapy. And Annie had tried to commit suicide 6 times because her body was going against her. And I told Damon while we were in England doing the tour, I said, we got to write a song for Annie. We did this whole thing with Michael Jackson's music director. We did the video. She tried one more time in March, and then I got her to come out to this event. She had no idea what we were going to do, and we presented the video. And that was 3 weeks before we had the number 1. That's where I met you.
Yeah.
And we presented Annie's song, Fight to the Other Side. And since then, she has not tried to commit suicide. She's met Prince Harry. She's saved tons of people. She's helped people not only with that, she got off her pills and that were changing everything. She's helped so many people in recovery. And they've turned their bed and breakfast into a place where people can go during treatment.
Wow.
And so here we are with this. And what I want to say is, so here is a woman that I didn't think my life could be amazing. But let me say to you, to our listeners, that today I look in the mirror and I see a precious child of God that was doing the best she could. Today, I don't date narcissistic abusers. I have a beautiful man who you know, who's loving, respectful, kind, generous, sweet, respectful communication. Would never think of calling me a bad name in his life. I laugh from my gut. I'm already clean before I get in the shower. I'm just washing a little dirt off. I feel like my innocence has been restored. I go swing on the swings like a little kid. And I'm like, yay, I play with my dog. You see me with your daughter. I'm Auntie Hilary. I love it. And I go outside. I hear the birds. I see the butterflies. I understand. I feel gratitude most days. With perimenopause, that can be difficult some days. I can tell you I've gotten tons of therapy. I've done EMDR. I've done different things. And I have a responsibility that whenever these things pop up, I have to address them, Jay. But I can tell you that I have a life that's beyond my wildest dreams today. And I this is very vulnerable for me to do this with to share this story. I do it a lot, but with our foundation. But just to know today I'm my father's hero. He considers me his hero today. I'm helping my mother. She's in Dallas near me. My brothers consider me a great miracle and one of their heroes. I make a difference all throughout my family. I try to make a difference and keep that promise to God that I'll help his kids for the rest of my days. And that's my legacy. That's my legacy. And I just thank the people that loved me until I could love myself. And I pray to God that I just am sober with 5/9 of 97 as my sobriety date, and that Red Songbird can help as many people as possible in this world.
What an honor to do this with you and to be a part of this process. And I mean, you have experienced so much, even more than I had really realized. and to see where you're at and the heart that you have. You're one of the most loving, kind, caring, generous, good people I've met and come across, and to hear what you've had to go through and to see where you're at today, it's truly incredible.
And I wanted to tell you one other little baby thing. I know we got to go, but I have those eggs frozen. And so we're unfreezing in the next month. So we're going to see if the embryos take, and I'm going to get a surrogate because I can't carry, but I don't know. We'll see what God's will is. So
Yeah. Well, you've impacted a lot of people, and I think by you sharing this is obviously going to really impact a lot more. And it's so sad to say, but there's a lot of men and women that have experienced stuff like you have. But you're a bright light for them, and you really are, an opportunity to know that you can make it through it. You shed that light, and a true testimony of hope.
Thank you.
So just thank you very much, and grateful to be your friend, and appreciate all the work you do to help others.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. So I just wanted to say this for anybody out there today. I can't imagine ever working in a club or acting out in the ways I've done because I'm way grounded in my body today. Today, I have true intimacy. On the levels of that sexual intimacy, it's so different. I have experienced the most horrific, and today I'm totally in my being, and I experience the most beautiful, which is amazing. And that's been all due to the steps I've taken to heal those places. I can't imagine going back to those other places. And I never knew it could be so beautiful. So I want to say to people that have been wounded in those areas, it won't always be a triggered thing. It won't always be some kind of horrific thing. It can be beautiful. You just got to do the work to get there.
Hilary, thank you so much again. And you guys, you're not alone. if you're out there and you're struggling, please reach out. We are here to support and try to point you in the right direction. But just know you have people here that care about you and want nothing but the best for you. So
Yes.
Thank you, Hilary. And
Thank you, bro.
Appreciate you.